Hello, 7th grade world history students. We're going to be starting a new activity today called a map quest, and we're actually going to be doing quite a few of these starting with this chapter. I wanted to run through a few of the tips, though, to help make this a little bit more successful for you and hopefully eliminate some of the frustration you might have trying to finish it on your own. So you can watch this video clip again, you can rewind it, you can go to the tip that you need to review. If you get stuck on something, that's the wonderful thing about the video tutorials here. So go ahead and open this up on Google Classroom if you haven't already. I'll give you a second. Now, go ahead and click through the slides as I'm clicking through them myself. There's the title screen. Ancient Mesopotamia is the area that we're going to be studying this chapter in Chapter 3. It is one of the 4 river valley civilizations that we're going to be looking at. So let's read through starting right here. It says, all of the world's earliest civilizations had something in common. They all arose in river valleys that were perfect locations for farming. 3 key factors made river valleys good for farming. First, the fields that bordered the rivers were flat, which made it easier for farmers to plant crops. Second, the soils were nourished by flood deposits and silt, which made them very fertile. That's able to grow a lot of food. Finally, the river provided the water that farmers needed for irrigation. Now, what we're going to be learning in this section here is that the main ideas here, number 1, the rivers of Southwest Asia, we call it the Middle East sometimes, but the proper term is Southwest Asia. The rivers of Southwest Asia supported the growth of civilization. And number 2, that new farming techniques led to the growth of cities. The big idea here is the valleys of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers were the site of the world's first civilizations. And so what we're going to be doing, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to create a comprehensive, all-inclusive map of ancient Mesopotamia. We will be combining several different kingdoms and time periods together onto the same map space in order to understand, first thing is how geography had an impact on this area, and it did in a big way, and how politics changed over this time period. You can use the maps that I've included from the textbook to label your own map at the end, or research your own maps to pull the information from if you'd like to. One caution, though, make sure that you're using ancient Mesopotamia maps, not current Middle East maps. So the first step, I would suggest looking at the checklist on slide 10 for features that you need to find and add. And my pro tip for the day, check all the maps. If you can't find something on one map, it is likely on one of the other maps. So you're going to be using the following maps to search for these map features. The checklist on slide 9. Sorry, here we go. Yours will be changed. So on slide 9, here's your checklist. The checklist is going to have all the different things that you're supposed to add on to it. And on the next blank map slide, which is this one, that shows the Southwest Asia portion that we're looking at here, this chapter, on that map slide, you're going to be labeling the following color guide as closely as you can to add each of the following map features. And again, you can see this video tutorial on Google Classroom if you need to review any tips. So I'll run through a couple of things that will make this a lot easier for you, and it's going to make an awesome looking map. I know many of you have colored maps probably in social studies classes before. This is going to be a lot easier in many ways once you get the hang of it, and it's going to look a lot better. It'll be a lot better at the end, a lot more professional looking as well. So the first one, let's go ahead and take a look. We're going to look at the Fertile Crescent, and we're going to color that light green, and we're going to transparently color that, which is a tip that most people don't even know you can do. So let's look at the Fertile Crescent, and the first tip that I want to give you is, while these maps aren't perfectly the same, they're pretty close. So you have a choice. You can either look at the map right here and then go back and trace it as best you can. One tip is you can go ahead and click on the top portion of your screen, take a look at where it says zoom, and then see how it's selected right here. What you can do is hit plus, plus, plus. It'll make your picture a little bit smaller, but what you can do is you can actually go to the slide here and then scroll up a little bit so you can see this map right here. And you can actually go through, and I would choose the curve connector, and you can trace it that way. So I'm going to show you the curve connector in just a minute. You'll trace it out like this. So you can either look right here where my mouse is frantically circling over on the left side here, and just kind of roughly trace this out as best you can onto this map. What I would do instead of that, I would go back to the default size that you had it at and go to this map. Watch the coolness. So go ahead and click on Curve, and then we're going to trace this right on this map. I know it feels like cheating, but I'm sure you've all traced something before. Now the Curve tool, watch what happens. You can actually, the Curve tool actually curve based on where you put these points. So every time you click, it's going to curve this line. So watch, I'm going to click it right up here, and I'm going to curve it. See how it curves based on where I'm going next. So I'm going to try and roughly kind of click this out. I'm going to tell you each time I click for this one, just as the sample here. So we're going to say click. That's going to curve a little bit more. We're going to say click, click, click. Oh, that was a little off. Click, 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 click. We're going to go up a little bit. And to make a tight curve, you can click a couple of times around it. Click, 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 and then watch, we're going to connect the line. See how it connects itself right there? Double click it, and it's going to make this awesome looking thing. Well, awesome in terms of maps. So now you can actually fix anything that you feel like, man, I just don't like that shape. I know some of you are perfectionists and want to get it right. So you can go ahead and move these little points here if you need to. Now go ahead and click here, click on the fill color, and we need to color that light green. So we're going to choose one of these. It actually says dark green, but it's kind of light green here. So instead of that, we're going to, most people just click on this color and they're done with it. What that does is it fills it in with a solid color. What we want to do is actually go to Custom and kind of get it in the green range here. And then find a green that's fairly light colored. That's pretty light. Now this little slider here, this is the color. This one is how transparent you want it. So go about halfway down on the transparency and let go. And go ahead and click it and watch what happens. Now you can see through it. How cool is that? Now, one thing I do is I don't want this line around it because I'm going to have a lot of lines on this map. So I'm going to go up here and click on the line, then choose the same color that you just filled it in with, right there. Now, it's got this map. Now, this isn't the map that you're working on, though, so watch what you can do. Now, you cut this right out of it, go to your map, and paste it on there. You can right-click, paste, or you can go up to Edit, Paste. And then it's not going to be perfect, watch. You're going to get it pretty close. Now, remember how we can fix those points, right? That's pretty close. Now, double-click on it, and you can actually fix the points, watch. So I'm going to kind of move this over a little bit here, move this one over a little bit here, and that's pretty darn close. We're going to move that one there just a little bit, too. So instead of, trying to trace it by looking at it, it's a little bit easier to go to these maps and actually trace them. You'd trace this one around it, and then go to the color and make it that light purple. Make sure to make it transparent. Make sure that when you go to choose the color, remember you go to Custom, choose your color. So in that case, you'd then change it to purple for the next one that you're looking at the next map there. And then go ahead and you can make that the same transparency. And it'll be the same idea. You go ahead and change the line color as well to the new color. And you've got your next little section here. That's if this is the Fertile Crescent, but I'm just showing you how to change the colors on the next one if you need to. So go through here, use the Curve tool, trace the Empire of Sargon around here with the Curve tool. Da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da. And then go ahead and paste it on top of this one. And you'll start to see it'll become a multi-layered map really quickly. So his empire kind of goes the same area, but it kind of cuts off right about here. So when you start putting them on as layers, it's going to look really cool, and you're going to be able to see all those different things that you need to put on here. So the next one is, well, the light purple one is the Empire of Sargon. You can find that on this map. You can also see the Empire of Sumer there, a city-state of Sumer. Then on the next map, you can see the Babylonian Empire right here, and the Assyrian Empire is the pink one. So try and follow those colors as best you can on your own map. Now, the rivers and things like this, a couple of quick tips. You can actually, I know that shows the rivers, okay? One of the things that you need to do with the rivers is you need to label them. So you can go through and make a text box, throw it on there, and it's not going to be the right size to begin with. But go ahead and put that name of river. You're going to actually fill in what this is. I can't give you the answers. So this river right here, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to make it blue. That light blue color. I'm actually going to make it bolded too. So now I've got this little label here for the river. Now, what you can do for any of the other rivers, you can actually copy and paste that and put it up here with the other river. So there's the name of the other river. Let's get a little bit closer. Now, the last one, I'm going to paste one more time. Take a look down here. Got another one. I'm going to paste it up here and put the river. Now, you can do the same thing for the water features if you'd like to. There's seas. There's different gulfs that you need to label as well. So if you want to, what you can do is, don't reinvent the wheel. Copy and paste it over here, and then just name the sea that this is. Don't just say sea. Make sure you put the name of the sea, of course, and the names of the rivers. But then as you go through, you can actually copy and paste, the names of the seas again. Just copy and paste as many times as you need to, and then make sure that you have the right titles for each one. Okay? Now, a couple of last things here. As you're looking at what you need to do, you need to make a light dotted arrow line showing the direction of the flow of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. You need to research which way it flows. Each of them flows a certain way. So what you can do is take that curve tool again and just go right on top of this right here. You don't have to do the whole thing. Either it goes here, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm perfectly fine with you getting it roughly there. So I'm clicking that curve tool thing here. Click, click, click. Make it close. Doesn't have to be perfect. Click, 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 and then double click. We're not finishing the shape this time. We're just making a line. Now change the line color to blue, because it's a river. And watch this. You can actually add an arrow onto either end. You can make it a little bit thicker. It's a little bit easier to see at that point. I'll make it 2. And if you look, I added an arrow onto the end here. If that's the way the river flows, then you add that arrow on. If that's not the way the river flows, if it flows the other way, you can add an arrow onto the other end. So, cool little tip, as you're going through. And what you can do, too, is you can actually make the line dashed or dotted, your choice. So it makes it look like a really professional map. Take your pick of dashed or dotted lines, whichever one you want it to be. And there you go. Make sure you trace the other river as well here and say which direction it flows also. A couple of last things. The deserts, you don't need to color. You just need to label. The mountain ranges, you don't need to color them. You need to label them in that color. So you'd label those deserts in red. You'd label these ones in dark brown. The cities, you can add a little tiny text boxes. I'd use a very small size font if I were you. And then add those cities on there, 18 of them total. If you need to draw some arrows onto your map to show where they are, because it's a little harder to put the city names together, they're all kind of clustered in this area right here, and a few over here as well. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But if you need to, you can use some arrows as well if you need. So, I think that's all the tips for now. If you run into any issues, please email me or ask the teacher that happens to be there, if it's me or the sub, and good luck.